This is Autoline Daily reporting on the global automotive industry. And we start out the news today talking about BMW and Daimler, who are teaming up on mobility services to offer around the world. The two companies are investing 1 billion euros in a partnership that will create 5 new joint ventures, one for multimodal services, charging, taxi ride hailing, parking, and car sharing. Customers will be able to use the services through an app. Over time, the automakers say the hope is to form a single mobility service portfolio with an all-electric, self-driving fleet of vehicles that charge and park autonomously and can interconnect with other modes of transportation. While mobility services are growing in popularity, it still isn't known how the market will shake out. So by teaming up like this, BMW and Daimler will be able to share the costs while experimenting in new services. Workers at GM's Detroit-Hamtramck plant got a bit of good news. The company announced it will remain open for another 7 months. Last November, the automaker announced it planned to idle the plant and 4 other facilities as part of a restructuring move. The Detroit-Hamtramck plant was scheduled to stop producing vehicles in June, but will now continue to build the Chevy Impala and Cadillac CT6 until January of 2020. The Chevy Volt and Buick LaCrosse were also built at that plant, but production of those models ended on February 15th. Lexus hit a big milestone. Toyota's luxury brand just sold its 10 millionth vehicle globally since its debut. About 1.5 million of those are hybrid vehicles. The automaker also set a sales record in 2018. Last year, the company sold just under 700,000 units globally, an increase of 4.5%.
Lighter, safer, stronger, quieter, and more sustainable. Tell us where you need to go, and we'll help you get there. Dow Automotive Systems. We don't succeed unless you do.
Peugeot is baring the teeth of the new 208. Check out the Fang-like daytime running lights on the B-segment car, which is now longer, wider, and lower than the outgoing model. And the 3 vertical lines you see in the headlights are also carried over into the rear taillights. Under the hood will be a range of 3-cylinder and 4-cylinder gasoline and diesel engines, as well as an all-electric option. For that, a 100 kilowatt electric motor is paired to a 50 kilowatt hour battery pack, which helps return up to 340 kilometers or 211 miles of range. And that's based on the new WLTP fuel economy test. When the new 208 goes on sale later this year, it will also feature Peugeot's latest iCockpit infotainment system, including a 3D head-up display and a host of driver assist technologies. BMW is combining voice command technology with gesture control and gaze recognition to revolutionize how customers can interact with their vehicles. For example, someone could point at a window or swipe past the moonroof and say "open" to open the windows, or point at something inside the vehicle and ask, "What's that?" to get an explanation of a system and/or how it works. But it's not just limited to in-vehicle. You can also point at buildings like restaurants and movie theaters to learn more about them or book reservations or buy tickets. The iNext, which is scheduled to come out in 2021, will be the first BMW with some of these features.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, your journey, our passion. Dow Automotive Systems, advanced materials that deliver better results. And by ExxonMobil.
On last week's Autoline After Hours, we were joined by Dave Fulton, an EV powertrain expert from the supplier BorgWarner. And during the show, he talked about what it would take to engineer an electric hot rod and what you would need to make it happen.
If you look at motorsports, for instance, there's Formula E and Formula One and things like that. They're not concerned about the cost of the materials as much as we are. They can use exotic steels that can carry a more magnetic flux and things like that. They can ignore the acoustic noise aspects largely, and there's some trade-offs there. So we could program the inverter to run in a way that would generate more power, but at the expense of being noisier. Those are things that right away could be done. Another thing that could be done is you could pump more coolant through at a faster rate. Now you get some pumping losses to deal with there when you do that. But
to cool down the motor.
Yes, yeah. So it depends on where the weak link is. Is the motor unable to handle more? Let's assume it's continuous power. Depends on what we're trying to optimize. If this is a dragster, or if we're going to something like a quarter mile, or if this is something where we want to be able to do a prolonged period of continuous power, Autobahn kind of stuff. But you could do different things in the motor. Motors, generally, if you're trying to talk about small duration events, they just need a lot of mass to be able to hold the heat in, basically, without reaching too high of a temperature. For the inverters, 10 seconds is pretty much an eternity for an inverter, because if you can handle it for 10 seconds, you can probably do it all day. Maybe 30 seconds. But anyway, for motors, it's a very different story, because you can handle for short duration, the whole ludicrous mode in the Tesla Autoline, for instance. You can do things, you can hold your breath for just a little while before the temperatures reach, levels that would damage insulation or bearings or things like that. You can't do that in the inverter so much. So the inverter would have to be designed with the full power in mind. And you can eke out a little bit more power if you're willing to do it at the expense of acoustic noise. The motor, I think you have more knobs you could turn to soup it up.
To learn more about EV powertrains, you can watch that entire discussion right now on our website, or you can find it on our YouTube channel. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and please join us again here tomorrow.